So, the burning times, and trigger warning, she put here with an asterisk, trigger warning, some description some of the descriptions of the horrific violence, torture against women during the Inquisitions is included in this account, okay? And it's titled The Burning Times. So there's a video right now that went up on my TikTok maybe about an hour ago, and it is titled whatever, I can't recall, but something like why you're unable to follow through on your creative projects, why you have a pattern of starting and stopping. And in there, I gave a general definition of what the witch wound is and how it came about. It's like a 10-minute video of the creation, the development, and the strengthening of the witch wound, how the witch wound shows up today inside of the average woman. And then the solution I had for it was to get this here, Heal Your Witch Wound, which is a course you can get right now at the link in my bio, and it's half off for the next 48 hours, okay? Regular price is $197. It's currently 50% off at $97. So this right here gives actual historical facts relating to the ways that wise women, healers, community leaders, speakers, the original doctors, okay, so doulas and medicine women were the original doctors, and how men and the institution of religion systematically killed off humanity's connection with the spirit world, with our bodies, with divine intelligence, divine knowledge. And this was all systematically done. And when you understand this stuff, it adds as a salve to a lot of the rage and anger that lives in men and women today. Let's start with a section called The Suppression of Women. And then I think we'll move forward to the creation of the medical industry. So, suppression of women. Acceptable female behavior, as outlined by prominent men of the church, was that of meekness and submission. Therefore, women who became viewed as upsetting their traditional role, and she's referencing a historical book that helps you understand during that time. Quote, women who became viewed as upsetting their traditional role, be it through direct religious dissent. So that would be the equivalent of a woman today talking against Christianity or religion, okay? Be it through direct religious dissent or more indirect upsets of sexual power, whether they practice magic or not, were at risk of being accused of witchcraft. So I want to back it up. First of all, when it says here, acceptable female behavior as outlined by prominent men of the church, I want to remind you that prominent men of the church were white men who had we're talking about Christianity at this point, okay? These times now are during Christian times, which were approximately 2,000 years ago, and you should know that Christianity was brought about as a means to control. There was lots of bloodshed and lots of killing of the local villages, the local tribes, the local people, and indoctrination to get them to adopt Christianity. What they did was they took original teachings from the origination of humanity, blended it with their controlling tactics to create what most people understand as the Bible today, okay? You can go do your own footwork to come to your own conclusion on that. So when it says here, as outlined by prominent men of the church, what they mean is Roman Catholic white men whose attempt was to control and dominate. Okay, that's what that means. So FYI. So accusations of witchcraft were generally made by those who had some conflict with the person in question. So that's the equivalent of, if I want to destroy you, let's say I'm some religious leader or I'm just somebody who wants to destroy you, what I do is I immediately accuse, is this witchcraft? So immediately, right? They're just supposed to put a cloud of judgment over you. So then that opens the gate for me to destroy you, jail you, etc. So that's what this is. The accuser, which is typically a man or a woman who was in cahoots with the men, the accuser was generally a neighbor or other community member. Many prominent men, whenever I say prominent men, you can automatically know that that's code for white men, okay? Many prominent men, religious men, okay, of the church preached that women who thought for themselves were not submitting to the authority of their husbands and were ultimately on the path to adultery if they were not already guilty of such sin. So this is why, this is the birth of play dumb. Y'all think it's just modern day cutesy TikTok play dumb shit. You think, no, there's a deeper religious root to why, one, women play dumb, and two, why it feels safer for a lot of women to play dumb, and why many men like it when women play dumb. Okay, so this is deeper than your TikTok shit. Okay, this is deeper. Furthermore, they were likely, they being the women, they were saying if a woman thought for herself, that they were likely to seduce others. So seduce, also known as influence. Seduce, also known as influence. So the me speaking, thinking right now, influencing you, other women teaching, healing, influencing others. So seducing others into the same type of behavior, meaning thinking for themselves, influencing other women to think for themselves. Okay. And therefore must be witches. If you're thinking for yourself and you're influencing other women to think for themselves, you must be a witch. This shit is cold, man. Listen, powerful beings ain't got to do this kind of shit. Listen, do you have to do that? No, because you're a powerful. So any woman who was into the same type of, and therefore she must be witches who were guilty of having intimate relations with devils and should be destroyed. That's your religious, that's your religious teaching, baby. Such beliefs and practices were promoted by, ding, 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 the Catholic Church, which is basically a whole mashup of original teachings of Christ and plus other hidden text, written and rewritten. That's why the Bible has been written umpteen times, written and rewritten with what they wanted to be in there to control humanity, lock doctrine in place, and reframe the feminine, and all these different distorted feminine, all them books in the Bible, Jezebel, Delilah, all distorted feminine. It's meant to be like that. Okay, that's the Catholic Church for you. Okay, that's what they did. Such beliefs and practices were promoted by the Catholic Church and practiced not only in Britain and Europe, but also in the American colonies. Midwives were particularly in danger of persecution because of their perceived control over fertility, conception, successful pregnancy, and safe childbirth, as well as treating male impotence, female infertility, performing abortions, providing contraceptives, and a wide variety of healing practices. Midwives, doulas, I'll just say this beginning part again, were particularly in danger of persecution because of their perceived control over basically new life, humans coming in. So we can see now why, like the root of we need to control who has control over human childbirth, humans coming in, So you can easily tie that to understand how we got to this place of men having control over women's bodies today. So you need to understand. Can you just with a simple thinking see the connection beginning to form? Okay, the perceived control over fertility, perceived control over conception, successful pregnancy, and safe childbirth, as well as treating male impotence. They felt like the women had too much control. All right. Suspicion became so intense. Suspicion became so intense that midwives were accused of having cast a spell or curse whenever a woman miscarried or was unable to conceive, as well as if a man was impotent or unable to, quote, perform the carnal act. So you can see that a couple things. What's mentioned here is a miscarriage, and if a man had erectile dysfunction. That's what this is, okay? If a woman miscarried, or if a man has erectile dysfunction. Now, a woman could miscarry for any number of reasons. We know this, right? However, and then erectile dysfunction, I mean, in modern days, they say so much of that has to do with diet, lifestyle, and blood flow. Okay? Stress levels, that's lifestyle, right? So women who are midwives, doulas, right, particularly at this time where there was much more, before Christianity came and started bastardizing spirituality and needing to control and tame women's relationship with the unseen world, there was a fluidity and freedom that systematically got shut down, okay, and demonized, and fear instituted. So I can see, I wonder if you automatically see this, that when a woman's ability to have her hands in on life and bringing forth life into this world and using her intuitive sense about things. For those of you who have had doulas, or you are a doula, for those of you who are midwives, or you've had a midwife, or midwives and doulas who are really tapped into their own spiritual sense when they're in relationship with the mother who's preparing for childbirth, during childbirth, post childbirth, and it's such a sensitive, very much spiritual experience. Yeah. And just this right here, we're going to go into the healing as well, because they systematically killed healers too. Women who grew herbs, understood the land and plants, all that, right? Because it was too much control as far as they were concerned. Too much influence, too much control. So for many women, I can see just by reading this, I can see, and I wonder what you see as I'm reading this, for women today who don't understand the history like this, who are afraid to use their spiritual gifts and don't know why, who, have different kinds of healing, transformation, medicinal businesses that they keep starting and stopping, or they play small around, or they feel like they need to keep it underground and they don't know why they keep feeling like they need to keep it underground. They keep feeling like they're going to be found out. If somebody find out that they know a particular gift, know things that's not in a book, know things that seem to be weird and not talked about. And anybody here dealing with that? Irrational fears, irrationally fear of being persecuted, an irrational fear of being seen, of being found out, of being, and women are like, why do I feel it? What is this? There's no like obvious threat around here. Has anybody, you know what I mean? I have felt this. I've talked repeatedly about fear of death, and I reconciled that. But before I reconciled it, I used to be like, why? What is this? Whenever I wanted to do something powerful, be visible in a whole new way, talk about things that wasn't in a book, things that I didn't see anybody else talking about. Definitely didn't see anybody else Black talking about. And we don't understand that the root of so much of modern day women's fear around being highly visible, like world-class healers, being highly visible women who are speaking dark truths, highly visible women who are influencing humanity in a major way. Because that's what these women were. We didn't have the internet back then, obviously. So it was, it's not like you was turning on your camera to speak to the whole world. You were in your villages and you were local town, but it was the equivalent, okay? As the medicine woman, as the speaker, as the doula, the midwife, as the herbalist, as the woman who was the original doctors and the original healers. And when you were demonized for understanding the whole conception process, the childbirth process, when you were the original doctor around men's erectile dysfunction and healing it, when you were the original doctor around even being able to know if a child was going to make it through. See, because today abortion is talked about in a bastardized, demonized way. But that's also because we have men running shit. And the men who are in control are fucking lunatics. They're controlling lunatics who do not have any little to no regard for the spiritual nature of birth, period. Not even just the birth of humans, but the cyclical nature of life, okay, be cool. The seasons of things. So today, abortion is talked about like, you just see them online, killing your babies, aborting, damn. Now, okay, look, if a woman is being negligent and is fucking a bunch of niggas and is using birth control or is using abortion as a means of birth control, yeah, that's irresponsible. But there are plenty of women who are getting abortions because it's dangerous, because it's not a good idea. Or how about this? For all the people who are entirely disconnected from the spiritual nature of things. I have a former client who lives in, what is the name of this damn Caribbean town? I can't. Merle, where are you from? Anyway, she's from a Caribbean, I can't even remember the name of it, but she's a nutritionist, and she's very much about plants, eating from the land to be healthy. She's fit, all that. And during one of our sessions, she was talking about, this was a piece of her content that she put up. It was a picture of a plant that grew, I don't even know the fruit, but it was an unusual fruit. And she used the word abort to describe how the plant knows which of its offspring is the weakest. And so the plant will abort. No, it's not St. Lucia. It's not a popular Caribbean. It's not popular because I remember when I met her, I was like, oh, I never heard of this place. It's not a popular Caribbean island. But the plant, which is a very unusual plant, has obviously its offspring. And in the content she put up on Instagram, she said the plant knows which of its offspring is the weakest. So it will abort the weakest one so it can send all of its nutrients to the stronger one. Okay. Now, when we place things in the plant world, people have a tendency to relax their fucking nervous system. But when we talk about it in human form, all of a sudden everybody's fucking judgmental tentacles go up in flames and they can't see straight because most people don't have a high lens through which to look at humanity. They're hypercritical of breathing sentient beings walking around in flesh. Okay, especially when everybody is looking through a fucking patriarchal lens to deal with other human beings. So, for a woman to be able to deal with the birth of humanity, birth of life itself, the dying off of trees and then the rebirth of trees, the dying off of different plant life and animal life and the rebirth of plant life and animal life. See, this is why there's so much rage in the feminine womb today. This is why there's a resurgence. This is why Black women are now advising women online. And I'm not saying, listen, okay, and bitch, listen. At the end of the goddamn motherfucking day, okay? But it's because of what was planted Psychically, a long time ago, y'all. You got to remember, this shit started long before we got here. Okay? we're gonna keep reading here about how, remember, all of this is under the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? All of this is up under the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? The women were the original doctors. Okay? Women knew naturally, intuitively. We didn't need to read no fucking book. And we knew. We still know. Okay? And the men came along. Okay? Fear, because there was suspicion, became so intense that midwives had control over fertility and all things having to do with life itself. Okay? This is the deep insecurity inside of men. I need you to understand this. And it's so important that we temper our emotions, because a lot of women having a hard time tempering their emotions, especially the more tuned in you are. Okay? And then your mind and your spirit and your heart becomes overwhelmed with the filth and the ugly of today, the lack of love and harmony today, and you know how to fuck with that. This is why Black women is shooting motherfuckers and telling motherfuckers to put lead in niggas. Don't talk and argue. This is why, nigga, because this shit been going on a long fucking time. And now everybody confused and sick when we got the answers. But this fear and this hate is what got niggas out they fucking mind. Okay? We know the truth. We always knew. Just too many of us was scared of death. Them days is over, nigga. If a child was stillborn, because remember, a plant knows which of its offspring is weak. A plant knows which of its offspring is weak. So it will kill it off and send all of its nutrients to the strong offspring. If a child was stillborn, the midwife was assumed to have murdered the baby in order to send its soul to Satan. Oh, I'm telling you. As all unbaptized children were believed to go there. Even the use of herbs to relieve pain during labor was condemned. Women had a duty to suffer pain in childbirth as a punishment for tempting Adam in the Garden of Eden. The fake stories that they created. Like, it's just temper your heart, temper your emotions, ladies. And we have resources here. We have I will share with you for you to screenshot, okay? There's resources here, okay? Temper and be strategic. Temper and be strategic, okay? The universities, which the men created, between 1627, and this is, Christianity had long been around by this time, between 1627 and 1630, that's only 3 years, nearly all the city's midwives, just midwives, doulas, it's the same thing, okay? So all of your childbirths that you love to see on Instagram of women giving birth at home in the water tub, and there's the doula right there helping them give birth to the child. Just imagine if a whole hunt came around the United States for them to kill off all of the doulas. That's what happened, okay? Did you hear what I just said? So all the doulas who you know, your aunts and cousins and all of them, who are certified and skilled to be doulas, right? To help you have give birth at home, because these fucking hospitals with they bright lights bringing your baby in with all of that. And so women want to give birth at home. You need a doula most of the time for women who decide they don't want to do it entirely by themselves or with they, husband or whoever. You have a doula, right? So all the doulas, imagine them killing all the doulas. That's what this is, okay? From 1627 to 1630, nearly all the city's midwives were killed as witches because the men felt too much suspicion that they had too much control over childbirth. Okay? This is, go study, babes. So I want you to understand how we got to what we're dealing with today with the Supreme Court and men tripping, losing their fucking mind. They're just carrying on what the men before them did. They're not the invention and creators of none of this. They're carrying on what the men before them did. Most of them are under mental, they don't even know. They just think it's just the way it is. Like how in here, the whole teaching was that if a woman thought for herself, she was under the influence of Satan. I don't know, just ask the average man today who has a daughter, do you want your daughter to think for herself? Or if she thinks for herself, is she under the influence of Satan? I don't know. Do you want your daughter to think for herself? Do you? During the 1300s, the occurrence of several plagues known as the Black Death swept Western Europe and England, eliminating more than 1/3 of the population, resulting in a breakdown of the feudal system due to the loss of serfs for the estates of the ruling class. So the feudal system was a whole, as I'm remembering it right now, it was a whole system of landlording, okay, where common man, how they sort of like got relationship with the ruling class was that they would like look over their land for them. This is how landlording came about. So that system got broke down because of the sickness that swept through Western Europe, okay? Just be clear about that. The Catholic Church, owning more than 20 to 30% of the land. To this day, the Catholic Church is wealthy, okay? Y'all probably know that. The Catholic Church, owning more than 20 to 30% of the land, was the largest feudal landowner of the time. Feudal is the institution I just described, and suffered the most severe losses of income because of the loss of serfs due to the plague. So there's a lot more for me to read for you to understand why that even matters. As far as like, you need more humans. If you got a lot of people dying, you need more people to be being born to have workers and your whole system to flow the way you want it to flow, okay? Money, all that. It's the same thing with the equivalent of Elon saying we need more humans today because we need more workers. It's the same system. Let's connect what I just was reading about the killing off of midwives to talk about the birthing of the medical industry. Guilds of physicians and surgeons began to form during the 1300s. Okay, before I go on, my stomach is responding to what we're talking about. Anybody's body, you feeling? This is why, let me say this. So, if you're new to me, I've been working with women for 13 years, okay? And, you know, when you work very closely with women for 13 years, and those of you who work with women, you know what I'm talking about. When you work closely with women, you start finding out what's really going on. If you don't work closely with women, you don't know what's really going on with women. Because women walk around, they be right in front of you, having cocktails, cleaning the kitchen, cooking, and is in pain. And just in pain. Just, that's what women do. Women just hold a lot, and you'll never know. And it's just so normal. I mean, this is why the whole we resting for 4 years is so viral, and so many Black women was just ready to take it on. Yes, we resting for the next 4 years. This is why Black women is like, we don't want to be bothered with these men. This is why so many women is holding the line with this shit. This is why so many women is getting guns now. You know, this is why so many women it's more women willing to do these things because folks is tired. And what has happened is a lot of women have been tired, silently suffering for a long time. You see? And when you work with women, you find this out. And so what has happened is, I remember, it's deep and it's thick and it's heavy and it hurts and it's hard. And what has happened is, it's the practical of it, like just living every day, and then there's the spirit of it all. Okay, we living in the spirit of being the offspring, right, of mothers and grandmothers and great grandmothers who carried a lot of shit and never talked about it. Like today, everybody talking, and this is why it's so much talking online, because we can talk. You think your grandmama was just right? No, she held it. Okay, how many of y'all grandmothers, great grandmothers, never talked about shit? The way you see women hollering on the internet today with their problems, whatever the problem is, what you think your who you think your great grandmother talked to? Some of them had somebody to talk to, but plenty didn't. Okay. And then the reality of the times, right? They stayed with them, and what you gonna do? What you gonna do, right? So there was a lot of tolerance of a lot of pain for generations. There's just a lot of tolerance of a lot of pain. And just think about you today with all your conveniences, Netflix, DoorDash, food delivery, whatever, all of it, right? All your conveniences, and how you do with pain, how difficult it is for you to move through pain, keep getting up, going to work, taking care of the kids, doing whatever you do, keeping yourself together, losing the weight you want to lose, keeping your spirituality intact, whoop-de-wop, right? With all your conveniences today, that my grandmother and great grandma didn't hardly have none of that. And so what it must have been like for them to walk around with that pain. And here's the thing. The men today and I've talked about this so much, about how you are with a man trains him. How you are with him trains him. So if you just walk around in pain all day and he don't know, he just expect you to do that. If he's seen his mama do it, how many of y'all be with a man? My mama worked 3 jobs. So I guess you're supposed to do it too then, huh? My mama, she did it all. My mama raised 6 kids by herself. Right? So this is what I mean. And this is why I be getting so passionate and yelling at y'all about, you want to be mad at men? Well, how are you with him? Are you playing dumb? Because that's how he get to open up his wallet. So then you got 4 billion women worldwide playing dumb. What you think men gonna think about women? So you around him, stomach full of fibroids, pain in your back, feeling resentful that you're overweight, and he rather be on porn because you refuse to hold, right? You train him by how you are with him. There's no escaping that. So this is why y'all need to understand, we all impact each other, generation after generation after generation after generation. We impact each other. So now we seeing this big wave of women, generations of women, just like my mama told me that story. Y'all have heard stories from your mothers and your grandmothers. And then you got your own pain and your own weight, your own experience with men today who are sons of these men, sons and grandsons of these men. And now the tides have shifted, right? Because see, now we talking, meaning because we got this social media now, folks. But you didn't know what was going on in Bangladesh 30 years ago. You didn't know what was going on in Korea and Canada and all of that unless the United States news happened to play it. Okay. But now, since we got these phones and we can see what's going on with them people over there in Hawaii and them people over there in Somalia and that woman over there in New York City and them chicks over there in San Francisco and them what they did to them immigrants down there in Tennessee, and then what they doing over down there in that medical industry in Florida, and what's going on to see, we know what's going on now. And now that we're talking and we're accumulating stories, and women didn't been carrying this pain for so long, folks is ready to shoot now. Okay, folks is ready to shoot. They sick of this pain. They tired of tolerating grape. That's another thing. You sticking with them, and just all the stories that's never been told, but the spirit of the story lives. Because there's no respect for the spirit. So you think you can just rape people for years and it ain't gonna be no spirit that lingers. You think you can have chattel slavery for centuries and you think ain't gonna be no spirit that lingers. You think you can disrespect women and treat them like second class citizens and it ain't gonna be no spirit that lingers. You think you can traffic children and defile the planet and ain't gonna be no spirit that lingers. Baby, it's a payment. It's a payment for all of this. Heal your witch wound. This right here. I created to begin to help you bring forth the essence of this, okay? The essence of your natural power as a woman. All women have power. So the spirit of your natural power. So let me say about this to be clear. So I know, because I've been working with women, we hide and lie all the time. We're suppressed all the time. We're having two conversations at one time. There's the conversation we have with people that is safe and whatever. And then there's the conversation who we really are happening back here all the time. And some women, it's even more conversations going on than that, okay? Women are constantly delaying or starting and stopping on projects that they care about. Many of you may have seen the statistics that the number goes somewhere between 80 and like 95% of women don't even enjoy sex. Okay? Just opening their legs, faking it. Okay? All of this is tied to the suppression of what a woman is. Okay? The fact that there's arguments. I created Heal Your Witch Wound to help you to begin to unleash the natural power that you are again. At home, by yourself, behind closed doors, and then you bring it out to the world to whatever degree you want to. It works and it's powerful. It's 50% off for the next 48 hours. Okay, Heal Your Witch Wound right here that you see. You can get it at the link in my bio. It works. It's powerful. It's going to help you free yourself. This stuff that I'm talking about, okay, now I know this is old, but we're dealing with it still today, just different. The law about what men, the fact that there's even a law to tell you what to do with your body, it's all rooted in this. The fear of being seen and found out and afraid of really taking up space on the world stage while you got something in you burning to come out. That's all tied to this. So if you got projects you starting and stopping, if you know you hiding, you know you got things to talk about and you don't talk about it for all the many reasons to be afraid, Heal Your Witch Wound is going to help you begin to free yourself. You can get it right now at the link in my bio. So I'm going to go into now how our modern day medical industry, the beginning of it. Keep in mind, women were the original doctors. Take that in. Women were the original doctors. Guilds of physicians and surgeons began to form during the 1300s, which did not approve of women practicing medicine and would not admit them into their organizations. I've skipped over quite a bit, okay? I want you to keep in mind that they created these organizations deliberately to remove women out of these authoritative natural roles. Until this time, the principal, here it is right here. Until this time, the principal healers, especially of the common people, were women, many of whom were skilled herbalists. Physicians tried to build up, quote, exclusive status. Let me say this again. Physicians tried to build up, quote, exclusive status, which was not based on the effectiveness of their treatment. And they were held up in this domination by the churches. It was all through the church. It was all church shit. If a woman healer was not authorized by the church, baby, I'm telling you, I swear to God, I look, I swear to the almighty truth, because even God is fake. The way it's set up today. Hold on, I gotta do this verification. If a woman healer was not authorized by the church, she could be accused of healing through witchcraft. How y'all feel about this? How y'all feel about this? What do you mean Granny never had parents? This person, Longhorn, who said, how do I know what my witch wound is? To be a woman, according to the church and men of old historically, is to be a witch. Let me say that clearly for anybody that's lost upon. To be a woman is to be a witch, according to them, according to the church. You hear what I'm reading? To be an herbalist is to be a witch. To be a doula, this is how they demonized your spiritual power. Does it make sense now? This is how they demonize what you called intuition was witch behavior to the church. What you call, I just knew. Oh, you're a witch? Now, is it clear now, everybody? To answer this question of how do I know what my witch wound is, it's not a wound like, oh, you have this wound. What it is the shame that festers inside of women for being women. Does it make sense now? Exactly. It is crazy. But see, you see that? Exactly. That's the actual crazy. So that's for everybody here. This is the word witch itself is. Notice that you put witch up there and the average person gets all spooky and scared and immediately goes to demon thinking. You notice that, right? Yes or no? Tell me in the comments. You just put the word witch in front of the average person, immediately demons come to mind, right? Immediately distrust. Immediately it arrests the mind, right? Right? That's on purpose. They took the word witch associated with women's power as a means to immediately, when you see a woman who's intuitive, witch, demon, doula, demon, herbalist, demon. It was to systematically, it's the equivalent of the war on drugs. What do we know the war on drugs really means? What do we know? With the imagery and the messaging and the media, how did they make that association? What did the war on drugs mean? It was all systematic, media, language, imagery. What did the war on drugs mean? Somebody tell me in the comments. Who was that associated with? Church was behind patriarchy, correct? Well, patriarchy existed before the Christian church. Just different. Okay. Church was behind patriarchy, which erased women's history. Yep. True. That's true. Yeah, boy. Welfare on, yes. Reagan era, yes. And black men. It was a war against black men because this is crack. They put it was all systematic. Put the crack in, demonize the crack dealers, demonize the crack users, and it just why in that Jay-Z song he said, and that Blue Magic, he said, blame Reagan for turning me to a monster. Remember that? So it's the same methodology placed in different generations. So associate women's intuition, associate herbalism, associate doulas, spiritual practices with this demonized thing that we call witch. So immediately you associate it, even redheads. If you were a redhead, witch. If you were a speaker, like what I'm doing right now, speaking to you, teaching you, I would be considered a witch for teaching you. Okay. Orators, teachers, organizers, those of you who do somatic work, massage therapy, all of that was considered witchcraft. This is how they systematically demonized, systematically demonized women and the natural spiritual nature of women. So for those of you who are wondering why there's so much resistance to herbalists doing well, being known, seen, this is the spiritual consequence in the material world of demonizing it for centuries. So if we take the same method of systematically demonizing a thing through language, imagery, now keep in mind, during this time, we're talking about before social media, before TV. Okay, now when you come over into the 1980s, where we now have TV, we have radio, we have means of communicating cross states, cross cultures, cross country, through TV, etc. You take drugs, crack, black men, welfare mom, the ghetto, and you take this expression called war on drugs and you put them together through imagery. Every time you talk about the war on drugs, you show a picture of black men on the corner. Every time you talk about the war on drugs and violence in the street, you show a woman, black woman walking around looking sickly. And you put war on drugs and you put the image of a flash image of a black man, war on drugs, violence in the street, protect our communities, make our communities safe. You put an image of a black man, an image of a black woman, image of a black child. This is how you systematically program people to associate war on drugs with them evil black people, war on drugs with the... I just be thinking everybody know this. Did y'all notice? This is the same thing in 1300s. It's the same fucking thing done every century, every generation. Okay? So when you the media program, that's how it's done in the 1980s versus how it was done in the 1300s. Another thing that I may or may not get to reading in here is, so to systematically, right? There's no TVs in the 1300s. So what they would do to help perpetuate, to make it systemic and long lasting, is that they would take a doula, they would take an herbalist, and if she had children, they would punish her in front of the children by way of either beating, hanging, beheading, because you don't have TV, right? So you can't, castrate them on TV the way today we see there's a castration of black men on TV and different forms of media because we have TV. In the 1300s, instead, you would, the equivalent of during chattel slavery, hanging a man for everybody to see. Okay, that's how you systematically program. Whip her in front of her daughters so the daughter wouldn't even think about herbalism. She would go into it. She would cast a spell over her own mind and hypnotize and forget herself. This is why, for those of you who work deeply with women, especially doing deep spiritual work, trauma work, healing work, when a woman really starts healing for real and going deep, all kind of shit that she forgot about, shit that she forgot, it just comes. Because a woman can send herself into amnesia if she thinks that's her way for safety. And that's exactly what a lot of women have done and are undoing today. And that's part of what Heal Your Witch Wound is doing. It's helping to undo this self hypnotism into forgetting your power, who you are, where you come from, what you know, how to course correct for the collective. Whew, this is higher to work and payment is due. Payment is due. Payment is due. This is why you do the work behind the scenes by yourself, where you feel safe. You gain more comfort with your nervous system behind closed doors. And you get better and stuff wake up, and then you create, because you always get instruction intuitively on what to do. Then you get the guidance when you pay attention in your healing and restoration. You get instruction on what to do. Boom, and you do it. And this is what's happening. This resting that's women is doing, that's what women is doing. They resting, they being quiet, they doing their own healing, they doing stuff behind the scenes. And healing look different for everybody. It's so many things to do. To bake, put your hands in the dirt, lay in the sun, swim, right? All of that along with all your other spiritual work you're doing. Heal Your Witch Wound is a tool to help you include with everything else you're doing, and it works. That's the beautiful thing. It works. Okay, it's 50% off for the next 48 hours. You can get it right now with the link in my bio. The price is $197. It's $97 for the next 48 hours. Okay? All right, let's finish reading this because I want to go get some ice cream, chocolate ice cream sandwich or something. The Inquisition. Let me just read. You see, because I'll take a long time. Let me just read this and then I'll talk. Okay. The Inquisition, this is a quote from the book, one of the books. I'll give you the references here. The Inquisition gave the medical doctors trained by the universities and sanctioned by the church the power of life or death over all female healers or midwives. Okay. If any woman was accused of healing before a witchcraft tribunal, the presumption was that she had cured through witchcraft. You know, this is why women today are like, these men have lost it. Because for you to actually believe this, you have to have a real dissonance going on up here. For the men to institute this and treat it as real with people, that if she cured something, she must have used witchcraft. You know what you gotta, like the offness that you gotta have going on up here? This is what, like, the men today, so many of them are carrying this shit on, but the women ain't having it. But as we're looking at them, so many of us are like, dude, how are you? What is going on up there? Exactly. What is going on? Healing. Let me keep going. But to be doubly sure, the authors of Malleus Maleficorum, I'm going to come back to that. The authors of Malleus Maleficorum said that the question of how a woman had healed the patient should be put to a qualified medical doctor. If he said she had cured through witchcraft, then she would die. Let me repeat this. And to tell you what the Malleus Maleficorum was, so two German monks, in cahoots with the Catholic Church made the Malleus Maleficorum law. You can go Google Malleus Maleficorum. Here's the spelling right here. You see that? So that right there, the Malleus Maleficorum, you can go to Amazon and look it up. Last time I checked, they had I think it was a revised version for you to buy, but Amazon or just Google. The Malleus Maleficorum was basically a book for how to hunt, punish, and kill wise women. That's basically what it was. Two German monks wrote it in cahoots with the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was the enforcer, because remember, there were no police. Okay? The Catholic Church were the enforcers, and it became law. So this whole thing right here, it says, to be doubly sure, the authors of Malleus Maleficorum, which were these two German monks in cahoots with the Catholic Church, they said that the question of how a woman, basically, because this is the law now, they've decided that this is how this will work. We decide if she's a healer. We decide if she's legit. And the whole decision was based on whatever allows us as the men to maintain control, regardless of the fact that, as it says in here, they didn't even know what they were doing medically. So they were totally okay with killing people just to maintain control and authority, because they didn't want the women to have the natural power of being involved in childbirth. Basically, humanity. It says here, to be doubly sure, the authors of Malleus Maleficorum said that the question of how a woman had healed the patient should be put to a man, a qualified medical doctor. Keep in mind, their qualified medical doctors are men. They've decided are qualified, and these are men who are not qualified. Qualified meaning we keep control. If he said, the doctor, if he said she had cured through witchcraft, then she would die. You got that? So I'm going to move forward. The wise women quote, and this is quoted out of the book. Again, resources I'll share with you because there's some here and then there's some at the end. Quote, the wise women were systematically, that's like the healers we see today, what we call elders today. They were systematically eliminated in the witch burnings, an orgy of fury and terror and vengeance paralleled in this century only by the actions of Hitler, Pol Pot, and the Bosnian conflict. Estimates of the numbers of women killed during the 14th to the 17th century, we're talking about approximately 400 years. Approximately 400 years. Estimates of the number of women killed during the 14th to the 17th century vary from hundreds of thousands to 8 million. So let's do some comparison. Chattel slavery lasted approximately 300 years, or let's say 200. Let's say chattel slavery lasted approximately 200 years, because do we really know? There's so much lying going on. But let's say chattel slavery lasted approximately 200 years. 200. This was 400. Today, we see the remnants. Today, in 2025, we see the remnants. Everything about America is rooted in racism. 200 years, and we see so much of the invention of, like, America as is could not exist without racism, without chattel slavery. And that's just 200 years. So imagine what is the fruits of, for 400 years, systematically killing wise women. What do you imagine the women would be like in the 18th century, the 19th century, the 20th century. What do you imagine women would be like? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What do you imagine women would be like? So today, after 200 years of chattel slavery, and we're, over 100 years out of chattel slavery, and what do we see today? Even with all of what we call progress, what do we still see today? Racism still thick. Somebody said male-centered. Y'all go, let's talk about it. This was written by one of my Facebook friend mutuals in 2001. Her name is Freya Inanna. You can go find her on Facebook. Here's her name right here. The direction of wealth in this country. Pockets of everything. The way real estate, all the laws, so many of the laws, the whole Constitution of the U.S. is fruits of just 200 years of chattel slavery. So much, our music, the school, just everything you've seen online, the research you've done around this is rooted in racism. This is rooted in racism. This is rooted in racism. This is rooted in slavery. This is rooted in racism. That's just after 200 years. So just imagine after 400 years of systematically killing women, herbalists, doulas, psychic readers, women who had a unique relationship with the moon and the sun and the stars and the land, and were orators and somatic healers. Just imagine 400 years of systematically killing these women, training all the generations of women who watched women be killed. How much was harbored in the bones and the spirits and the hearts of the women and the children, boys and girls. Imagine, even for the men, all the sensitive men who watched their mother, their sister, their aunt, their grandmother be hung. 400 years of that. Okay. And we see, to comparatively speak, we see living in this country as is, just after 200 years of chattel slavery, what you imagine is like after 400 years of systematically destroying wise women. Oh, okay. Think about you today. How do you do with your power? How do you do with your relationship with the moon? How about your ability to get pregnant without sperm? Did you forget? Yeah, you did. Okay. Your ability to communicate with the moon and to know what's coming. Your ability to affect the weather. Your ability to grow things in a particular way by touching it. Your ability to predict plants, predict pregnancy, help a pregnancy thrive. All that way deep down in your amnesia state. But how many of you are hiding now? The ancestors then told you for the last 9 years, 3 years, 12 years to do this, that, and the third, and you ain't done it. Tell it. Go ahead. Go in the comments. How many of you been getting ready to talk about some kind of healing work, death work, ancestor work, land work, power work, wealth, the deep mind, the body? How many of you? And have avoided, started and stopped, got paralyzed, got distracted, decided to go have another child to make yourself busy, decided to go get up under a man, get another degree, get sick, gain weight. How many of you? Yeah. You see? Motherfucker, just worldwide. This is not an American thing. This is worldwide. This is the fruits of 400 years of systemically killing wise women, systemically defiling herbalists, doulas, spiritual, and we're all spiritual in our own way, in varying degrees, in different ways. The level of amnesia, the way a woman will hypnotize herself. Just imagine, for those of you who your mother is alive today, and you love your mother, like your mother is your person. Maybe y'all talk every day or once a week, but your mother is your person. And imagine your mother is a herbalist. And imagine you living in a time where herbalists get hung in front of everybody. And imagine you watching your mother get hung and there's nothing you do. They holding you back while you watch your mother get hung. Imagine what that'll do to your spirit. Imagine what that'll do if your daughter, so that's her grandmother, was forced to watch that, because that's how they programmed everybody. Imagine the spirit what would come over that child. The level of how that child and even you would hypnotize yourself into forgetting how powerful you are. You don't even need a whip. You don't even need somebody to threaten you. It's already done here. So you would do it to yourself. This is the remembering is what women are doing now. You see, this is the payment, and folks is losing their lives. You gonna pay, not you. I'm talking about the motherfuckers, the offspring of these people. And I know we talking about women and women, men too, though. The sons was forced to watch their mothers and sisters and aunts and grandmamas be persecuted. I know it's all about decenter men and looking at men like trash, but they're beings too. Many of them are sensitive, spiritual beings here to do powerful work. But I was called to bring this forward because so many women are so wrapped up in the times, not realizing that this is not about 2025. Yes, you are alive in 2025 and there's shit going on in 2025, but there are deeper roots than gender wars. There are deeper roots and beginnings than, just the shit that people are arguing about online. I'm here for women who are serious about their power, serious about their herbal business, serious about helping more people, serious about doing the work that they are called to do, serious about taking up more space on the world stage, serious about loosening the tension in their body versus this, somebody said something about paralyzing, versus being paralyzed and getting ready into they don't like their voice and I gotta lose weight and I keep starting and stopping, and these roots around all of this go way back. Heal Your Witch Wound works with loosening you up. One of the main ways, there's 2 exercises particular that's coming to mind. I think there's a total of 3, maybe 4. But there's 2. And I'm going to start with one that I don't normally talking about. That's in Heal Your Witch Wound. That guides you very specifically on how to take up space. And I have you do an exercise that's different. Women feel differently about it. Some feel it very challenging. Some feel very terrified. Some got to work themselves up to doing it because it works. So it's very potent because so many women, they don't even realize how scared they are to take up space until they're actually ready to do the project of their heart and soul, until they're ready to write that book and actually publish the book and actually go on the marketing campaign to sell the book. They don't even realize how afraid they are to take up space until they decide that they actually are going to pursue the acting career, until they decide that they actually are going to create a marketing calendar, a content creation calendar. I'm sharing this specifically because I want you to understand how the same way a woman can hypnotize herself, a lot of women don't think that they've hypnotized themselves. They don't. It's one of those things, you don't see it until you see it. And when they haven't built up enough fire in themselves to even be moved into a kind of action that shakes them awake, that begins to have them really looking at, okay, what's going on here? Why do I feel like I can't move? This is when she starts to kick up against that door that she put there herself to keep her out of the power that is in the auric field of all women. I say most men, most women, because there are women who are doing this work and who are further ahead than others. Okay. So this is deep. This is profound. Okay. And it's so important that you personalize it, because we all come from different bloodlines. You know, we all have different spirits that we are, right? And we all got our relationship with how we relate to our being, our sense, our proclivities. But this right here, Heal Your Witch Wound, will have you start to excavate yourself in a deep way. In a deep way. Okay, beginning with your taboo self. That's the first exercise inside of Heal Your Witch Wound. Your taboo self is the equivalent of your real self. Okay, it's the modern day cutesy word, or a scary word for who you really are. Your taboo self. So there's an exercise in Heal Your Witch Wound that begins to help you uncover your undesirable, scary, taboo self. Basically, the self that would have been called a witch in the past. The witch hunts discredited the women healers so thoroughly that during the 17th and 18th centuries, which wasn't that long ago, during the 17th and 18th centuries, male physicians were even able to obtain a certain amount of control in the area of obstetrics, like obstetrics and gynecology. Even though they had little knowledge or experience in the area, they claimed superiority over the midwives because of their use of the obstetrical forceps, which had been invented. Some of y'all know about the history of this, which had been invented by unprofessional barber surgeons. Remember the man who created that and how he created that tool? Women were not allowed to attend recognized medical schools until the mid-19th century. The original doctors were not able to attend their fake-ass medical schools. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Anyway, okay. Conclusion. We are in the last paragraph, people. Conclusion. The wise women and healers of ancient and medieval times were skilled and respected in their knowledge and practice of herbal medicine. Considering the horrifying methods used to suppress and eliminate women from the healing arts during the Inquisition's witch trials, it is not surprising that women have only been allowed to become a part of the medical profession during the last century. Isn't that amazing? And that herbal medicine has only in recent years begun to regain popularity, while folks who are revealing the shit is getting killed still. You see that? You wonder the history of that? This ain't new. This ain't new. Killing people who telling you how to heal cancer, which that's already been exposed, but these people start telling stuff and suddenly they're killed. Yeah, see, this is not new. Okay. Conventional medical practitioners are still trying to suppress natural medicine, don't we know? We as women and herbalists need to be proud. Oh yeah, because the woman who wrote this, she's an herbalist in Canada. We as women and herbalists need to be proud of our heritage and continue the struggle toward better health and the practice of natural healing. Let us strive to regain that knowledge and tradition of healing that was destroyed and lost in the burning times. And this is your time to do a screenshot. I don't know how to turn this around for y'all to see it the other way. Sorry. I don't know. Maybe y'all can figure it out. But I'm going to show you this page of resources. You can screenshot that. And then there's more. Hold on. So this what I just read. She referenced those books, okay? So her name, the woman who wrote this is her name, Freya Inanna. It's a goddess. Inanna is a goddess. So it's heavy work, y'all, but it's lighter on the other side. So if you would like a proven tool, heal your witch wound. And I haven't mentioned the womanhood initiation. So if you want more, meaning you want to be in strong and loving community accountability. So you've been seeing my content about the womanhood initiation coming up next week. There's 3 of them. So I want to share a little bit about that now. So this is not any old women's empowerment community. We engage conflict. We don't disagree all the time, but we respect each other. It's mature, it's adult, it's very loving. We're getting very comfortable with being beautiful, sexy. We're engaging in embodiment practices, like for all new members, as a 30-day own all energies practice. So this is a rare community, a truly rare community for women who are ready to be women. So a lot of this, what I talked about in here, the actual spiritual authenticity of you, where you don't have to, all the things women do, like thinking 20,000 different times out of fear of what will people think when I say and do, this chronic hiding, wasting so much time starting and stopping, fearing conflict, unable to, what we call it generative struggle, where we navigate difficulty together so we get familiar with the mature world of conflict. Because if you're going to do anything that's meaningful to you in the world, you're likely going to deal with other humans. And first of all, you're the first human to deal with, so your own emotions, your own negative mind, your own power. So if you have worked alone enough, or if you've been in enough shallow communities to know that there's a next level of responsibility and power, and that's another thing. So much of our commitment and dedication is about the responsibility of power in this community. So if you are ready, excuse me, yeah, if you're ready for community, absolutely. You should most definitely come to the Womanhood Initiation, because the Womanhood Initiation is your gateway into the community, okay? The Womanhood Initiation, which is happening next week, there's 3 of them, is your gateway into the community. And again, this is all assuming you're approved, okay? So just be sincere, be serious, read the details on the page, like be with yourself as you're moving along. Don't just move and take action just because I'm saying it or you're just lit for the moment. This is long-term, real, okay, raw, in community. You can feel welcome to Cash App me if you feel like you want to give to me. My Cash App is the one Naima, the one Naima, Naima, the one ONE Naima, Naima, the one Naima. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. You know, you always know. That's what I mean. Women always know. I hope if you've been here this whole time, that the whole power that I've been talking about, women always know. If your unconscious mind wants to stay, yeah, the one Naima, thank you. Well, obviously with the $sign. If your unconscious mind still wants to stay in a place of amnesia, you will. That's for all women. I want y'all, for those of you who are life coaches and healers and medicine women, sometimes a woman wants to stay in her amnesia state. It's just what it is. We all move at different paces. We all have different orders over our life, and we hypnotize ourselves. The equivalent to that is how men will be like, if a woman likes you, you don't have to lie to her. She'll lie to herself for you. It's like that.